So what challenges were you facing before working with us?
The challenges I was facing were like I was basically feeling like I was in constant battle with the control of my classroom. I was getting very little done during the day. I had classes where we weren't even singing every day because behaviors were just so bad. I was to the point where I was just assigning other stuff that had nothing to do with singing in class. One of my classes concerts were taken away because of things, and it was just to the point where like my school's administration was on to me saying, you're not controlling your class very well, and it just got to the point where I was at a crossroads where I just wanted out of that place at that exact moment.
And, and so here's another. What motivated you to book the initial call with me, and how were you feeling at the time?
So at the time, I was feeling completely burned out and defeated, and where's my program supposed to go, and just kind of stuck and stagnant. And, education's a tough place to be right now. And so I just kind of felt stuck, and I wasn't sure how to move forward. I wasn't sure if this was what I was supposed to be doing, just really stuck and feeling like I wasn't as effective as I could be. So that is what made me. I saw the email come through about your program, and I thought, you know what, that might be a great opportunity for me to kind of reboot and revitalize and learn new things. I love to learn new things, and so it's been a huge growth opportunity for me.
And one more, and then we're going to get started. So what motivated you to book the initial call with me, and how are you feeling at the time?
I have used Adam's work through Choral Clarity with other arrangements that he has done for octavo scores, and I have used the pitch matching work, and it's really been wonderful information for me. But when I got to, this is my 5th school district that I'm in, and I got to this point and I thought, I don't know if I can do this again. I don't know if I can be a first year teacher again, because it's a lot. It's just, there's so much, from where do I go find paper clips and staples and all that jazz to, oh my gosh, I have to completely relearn so many names. And so I was already on the radar for Adam for the work that you've done, but I saw the email come through, and maybe it was a Facebook post, I'm not sure, but it was talking about how we can revitalize what we do to make our lives more efficient and to make our teaching better. And I thought, all right, this is probably the time. 19 years in, and I need to really think about how to do better, more efficient with my family life and with me as someone that wants to not burn out. I want to keep going. So I saw the ad come up, and I thought, I'm going to click on the 15-minute meeting and just see what it's all about. I was feeling very overwhelmed.
Awesome. So welcome, everybody. And those of you who are coming in, it's great to see everybody. So fortunately, this is my first time doing a Facebook Live event. So this is really cool. I can actually see your comments. So if you write to me, I can actually address them in real time. They're there. Please let me know if you have any questions along the way. I want this to be as beneficial as possible. So my name is Adam Peltrowitz. I'm sure most of you know who I am because you're in my group. But if you don't, just a little bit about me. I'm a secondary level choral expert who helps choir directors dramatically improve their choral program while establishing a healthy work-life balance. Thank you, Ree, for making a comment there. I still teach. I've been teaching 25 years. I am still teaching, not in the summertime, but I still teach high school. I teach middle school. I'm not somebody that used to teach. I'm somebody who is still teaching in the classroom and doing what I say that I'm, doing what I've explained here. So I run the Choral Clarity Mentorship, where I help high school and middle school choir directors across the country become more effective as they establish a healthy work-life balance. And the point that I'm making here is that everything that we do is in conjunction with establishing a healthy work-life balance. If you tip everything over to your job, to your profession, if everything is based on what you do in the classroom, you are going to be miserable. You're going to burn out, even if you're successful. So the mentorship program and everything I write about, whether it's my blog, my courses, my posts, videos, social media is about establishing a healthy work-life balance so you can be successful in the classroom and be successful in your life. So this workshop is for high school and middle school choir directors who are motivated to improve their choral program through proper preparation, are looking for clarity in setting up their program for long-term success. So this is not just here's what you do, have a great year. This is about long-term success and preparation now. Who are looking for a healthier work-life balance and still want to balance their career with personal health, hobbies, and family. If that sounds like you, just put a Y so I know that's something that you're interested in doing. So far, nobody. I hope there's somebody that wants that. Maybe there's a delay there. This is not for high school and middle school choir directors who believe they should give up their personal lives to run a successful choral program. Oh, there we go. Awesome. And this is not for choral directors who are looking to place blame rather than find a solution. And what I mean by that is the kids have changed. Everything has changed. My administration's not supportive. I don't have a budget. That's not what this is for. And it's not for people who don't mind doing a lot of extra work to compensate for poor preparation. If you want to give up your nights, if you want to give up your weekends, then this is not for you, because I'm trying to show you a different approach. And for people who believe their choral program and choral rehearsals run smoothly on a consistent basis already, if you think you have all the answers, that's fine. You don't need me and this workshop. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the 11 summer do-nows for a successful school year so that you're properly prepared for the first day and beyond. You maximize your summertime and you stop guessing and obsessing over what you need to do now. And you have a starting plan for success. So this is the plan. I can't show you how to implement everything in one call. I can show you how to plan. And as a result, you are going to have an approach to enjoy the rest of your summer while also getting ready for the school year. Because if you know exactly what you have to do, it should say an approach. If you know exactly what you have to do, you're not going to be thinking about all these different spinning plates. You're going to be specific. How to improve the effectiveness in your rehearsals and how to gain a better work-life balance during the year. And most importantly, how to enjoy your job forever, how to find gratification in what you're doing. So I'm going to be giving everybody this book. Even if you watch this afterwards in my Facebook group, I will still give you this book. Now, the book, I sell it on Amazon for $50, but it's got maybe $150 worth of products that I sell on my website. So I'm giving it to you because I know that this is going to help you. And I want you to get as much as you can out of this experience. So let's get started. The 11 summer do-nows for a successful school year. Everybody's ready? Give me a Y so I know you're ready. Because I'm going to go through this. I'm going to plow through it. Ask your questions in real time. Okay? We have 2 mentorship members who are here on board right now. So you can feel free to answer too. Ask questions. That's always helpful. So, number 1, sounds obvious. Relax and stay away from the building. Now, you might be thinking, how am I going to prepare if I'm not in the building? Well, what I'm going to show you here does not involve going to your school. Now, I understand you're taking over a new position. You've got to clean the room. I get it. There are some physical things you might need to do at your building, but stay away from that building as much as possible and relax. You want to be enjoying your summer. And I know some people say, well, then why am I on this call? Why am I watching this? Well, because you can still be growing. You could still be thinking about your job, your growth, while relaxing. I'm reading books all the time. I'll be exercising and listening to a podcast or to a book always because I want to be growing, but I'm still relaxing. So relax and don't tie yourself to that school building. Create distance. Physical distance will lead to the proper kind of emotional distance that you need to be successful and recharge, whether it's going to the beach, going to the pool. This is part of growth. That's why we are paid as teachers for 12 months, even though we're working for 10 months in most cases, because this is part of the job, the recharge, and spend time with your family, hobbies, exercise, making music. Do the things that make you feel good, that make you feel whole. Okay? That's kind of obvious, but it's important to point that out as number one. Number two is articulate your teaching philosophy. Too often, we just do what we've always done. We do what our college teacher told us to do, what our high school choir director did, who probably did what their high school choir director did. But what is our teaching philosophy? What do we truly believe as teachers? And what we do is we need to develop a clear mission statement for your choral program. What do you believe is the essence, is the core of your program? What do you value most? Maybe even in the chat, why don't you put in 1 word, 2 words, things that you value most in your program? You're going to see there are different things. What are they? I see Carrie Ann, Ruben, Keith. What do you think? Just 1 word, 2 words. Clearly a little delay here. Well, when you write it, there we go. Community. So when they come in, I'll address them. So come up with a teaching philosophy where you have a clear mission statement. What is your goal? So connection, love that. So when you write your mission statement, community, wow, 2 communities in there. So when you have a specific mission statement, you write it out to build a community that fosters connection through whatever, through music, we can buy in, to create a community. I love this, community and excellence, musical connections. Create a clear mission statement and make it yours. This is not your student's mission statement. This is your mission statement. It's based on your teaching philosophy. Create a very clear statement, okay? It should be 1 sentence. It could be long, but it could also be really, really short. My mission statement is to teach life and use music as my vehicle. That is my mission statement. That's clear to me. Now, that might not be clear to you, and that's okay, because this clear mission statement right now is supposed to be clear to you. After you've done that, we get to step 3, which is to support your mission statement. So what you're going to do is you're going to write a vision paragraph to explain your missions in more depth. So you've got a statement. It's like a statement that you can put on the wall. You can hang it up. One of my mentees in the program actually 2 of them blew up a huge sign with their mission once they articulated it clearly, and they put it up above their board so their students can see it, so anybody who enters the room could see it. So the mission statement is 1 clear sentence, but then your vision paragraph supports it. It explains it in clear detail what that means. And what you're going to find when you do that is that it will ensure that your that you want to make sure that your mission statement fully encapsulates the detailed paragraph. So the way I recommend it is you come up with a mission statement, then you write a paragraph that supports the mission statement, or even just pontificate. Really just think, talk out loud, run on sentences, whatever you want. Then you hone in the paragraph, and then you go back to the mission statement and clean it up and clarify that mission statement to make sure that it aligns perfectly and covers everything in that paragraph. You're going to find when you take that time to clarify, it takes a long time to get a mission statement clean. It takes a long time to get one paragraph clean. And you may be thinking, why am I wasting all this time? I kind of know what I want to do. But that's the point. Until you can be so clear and articulate it beyond the shadow of a doubt, then the choices that you make in the classroom, the choices that you make for your program are going to be kind of, sort of right instead of clear. So, a vision statement that supports your mission statement. That's number 3. Now we get to number 4. Envision how your mission statement also aligns with a healthy work-life balance. So let me give you an example. You might say, my goal is to create a community at all costs where students feel welcomed, where students feel loved, where I can be there for my students. That's a beautiful mission statement if that's what you believe, if that's your goal. You could have all different sorts of mission statements, right? To develop music literacy, to develop the best sounding choir in the universe, whatever your mission statement is. However, if your mission statement requires you to give up your work-life balance, it is not a solid mission statement. So if your mission statement is to be there for my students, to create an environment where students always know they could come and be part of a welcoming community, that has to happen within the realm of a healthy work-life balance. And I'm going to be a little bit more specific here. Can you accomplish this mission without giving up your non-teaching periods, your prep periods? Remember, they're called prep periods. They're not called extra teaching periods. You were not given those periods to teach more. You were given those periods to prepare. And preparation is physical and mental. Without giving up your lunch period. I know it's great that the kids always want to come to you and spend time with you, but do you have time for yourself? Time for your own thoughts, time to make sure that you eat every day. And can you do it without giving up your late afternoons, evenings, and weekends? Now, I do understand you might have a few extra rehearsals. You might have other things that you do, but make sure that you don't do anything extra that is not necessary when you're creating that mission. And finally, taking work home with you. Can you create a mission statement and a vision paragraph that aligns with these 4 things? You're not taking work home with you. You're not giving up your afternoons, evenings, weekends. You're not giving up your lunch period, and you're not giving up your prep periods, because that's where you're going to prepare in school during the day. So as you're envisioning this at the beach, at the pool, in your bed, laying on the couch, as you're envisioning what your mission is and your vision, are you envisioning it in line with this healthy work-life balance, not just in the summer, but all year round? Feel free to chime in with any questions or comments. Okay. Now we're going to go to number 5. Describe your ideal rehearsal. So I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think, what would my ideal rehearsal feel like? What would it look like? And the way I always like to think about it is, imagine there was a video camera right in front of your room. Imagine it could zoom in on the whole room. It could zoom in on you. It could zoom in on the students, each one of them. And the sound was off. What would you see? What would you feel in your classroom? I'm asking you, in your current scenario, your job, the one that you have with those students that are in your class, that classroom, how does that ideal rehearsal begin? Where are you standing where it begins? Are you in the front of the room? Are you at the door? Are you at the piano? Where are you when the class begins? And how do students engage? How do they walk into the room? How do they find their seats? All of the visuals. How do they engage with each other? What are they looking at on the board? Describe it. Write this down. Write it with as much clarity as possible. It could be, a page long of description of what the rehearsal looks like. How do they stand? Do they stand tall? Do they stand slumped over? Do they look confident? Right? How do they interact with each other? Are they allowed to speak with each other? Do they only communicate with you? What does it feel like? What does it look like? So let me just go back there. So the whole goal is to create this vision of what you ideally want. Because if you don't know what you want, you're going to get that. You're going to get exactly whatever happens. If you know what you want, that is the starting point to get there. And by the way, that's no different than when you're creating music. When you are making music as a choral director, you need to focus in your head. You need to hear the recording in your head, not somebody else's recording. Your recording in your head of what you want your group to sound like. That sound drives you to create the music that you want. If you don't have that vision in your head, you're never going to create it. It's the same thing as envisioning your rehearsal with the sound off. Next thing, you're going to create a list of disruptions and distractions that prevent the flow of your typical rehearsal. So if you're currently teaching, I'm going to make the assumption that most of you are currently teaching, you have a job, but let's assume it's your first job. You can still envision this. Okay? Write a list of every single disruption and distraction that happens in class. Now, there might be a few that are out of your control. For example, an announcement over the loudspeaker is out of your control. There's nothing you could do about it, right? A fire drill is out of your control. There's nothing you can do about it. But most things are within your control. So they could be intentional disruptions and distractions or unintentional. So leaving the room, students coming late, sharpening pencils, calling out, students needing to get music. Anything that happens in your rehearsal that disrupts your ability to keep the flow going is a disruption and a distraction. So create a clear list of every single thing that you could possibly envision. Okay? After we do that, we get to step 7, or the 7th one. Ensure you have 5 rehearsal guidelines that prevent the overwhelming majority of these disruptions. Now, that might seem like a daunting task. You say, how can I have 5 guidelines that cover 50 disruptions and distractions? Maybe students touching each other, all different problems. Let's see. Rachel wrote, my favorite distraction is when half the class gets off the risers to get a pencil when they don't have one. Exactly. There you go. There's a clear disruption, clear distraction that happens in your class. And so you might not be able to get to that with your rehearsal guidelines. That might be one you're not able to, but we're going to touch upon that in a minute. Right now, you're going to create 5 rehearsal guidelines that prevent the overwhelming majority of these disruptions. And by the way, these are the things that we're doing in the mentorship. We make sure that everybody creates a clear mission statement, a vision paragraph that aligns with their mission, that they feel really good about, and then disruptions and distractions, that they create 5 rehearsal guidelines that actually address all of these issues. We make sure that they clarify every single one, that they're able to use those guidelines to reach every disruption and distraction. And the ones that they don't, we'll talk about in a minute. So when you create a rehearsal guideline, you want to make sure they're tangible and specific. So what I mean by that is that it cannot be broad in what you are addressing. So if you say, be nice to each other, that is broad. That is not a tangible and specific behavior. Something that is tangible is students touching each other, students calling out. Right? Those are 2 examples. When somebody is actually doing something that you could address, that is specific and that is tangible. If you say be respectful, that is not tangible, because what I think is respectful and what you think is respectful might be very different. What happens in my house and what happens in your house and what happens in the house of every student is different. But what is clear is keep hands and feet to yourself, right? That is clear. There is no confusion about that. So make sure your rehearsal guidelines are tangible and specific. Now, I want to say one more thing. You might be thinking, well, Adam, what do you mean here? First, you said you've got to use these 5 guidelines to cover 50 different disruptions and distractions. And now you're telling me they need to be tangible and specific. There is a way to address them. Exactly. The golden guideline, Rachel, and that's from the mentorship. And this is a standard one. Follow directions the first time they are given. That's a standard guideline that everybody should use. That's one. And the point is, each guideline needs to be so specific that it addresses a lot of different disruptions and distractions that happen. This summer, you can be creating those guidelines for your classroom. And if you can't instantly act on the guideline, it's too vague. So if you can't see it, address it instantly, then it's too vague. If anybody wants to shout one out, type it in, just type it in. I'll always look at it, even if we're up to the next one. You can always feel free to just add your a guideline that you think might work in your classroom. So now we're going to go to number 8. Create and write out procedures that address additional distractions. So a perfect example is Rachel mentioned before getting off the risers to get pencils, right? That's not a guideline. That is actually a procedure. What do you want students to do when they need a pencil? Is the issue about what they do when they need a pencil, or is the issue that they're not starting with the pencil? Do we need to say, as a guideline, be prepared with your pencil and your music to start the class? Is that the guideline? Or is it a procedure about when you need to get A, B, and C? This is what you need to do. Every procedure, what do you need to do when you come in late? What do you do with the late pass? What do you need to do when you need to go to the bathroom? What do you need to do when whatever it might be? Write it out. What's the disruption or distraction, and what's the routine for it? Write it out so there is clarity for you. We're not even talking about the students right now, because that is about the first day when you're teaching. I'm talking about preparation. Write out the procedure. And by the way, in the book, I have forms for writing out the procedure, for writing out the mission statement, for writing out the vision statement. That's all in the book as well. By writing them out, you will have complete clarity and you'll be ready to teach the procedure when you get to the first day. Now, this is a fun one. Create a system to redirect behavior. Oh, yeah. So Ree has another guideline. Only water is allowed in the classroom, in the choir room. She said, I stay away from no or don't. And that's something we talk about in the mentorship too. How do you stay away from the word no or don't? Only water is allowed in the chorus room. Okay, so that's very clear, right? Only water. So if a student comes in without a student comes in with Gatorade, Snapple, soda, coffee, Starbucks. That's what my students come in with, Starbucks. I have a table in the front of the room where they can put their Starbucks and then pick it up at the end of the class. So creating the clear guidelines, creating the clear procedures. Now we talk about a system for redirecting behavior. Notice I didn't say a system for disciplining students. Our goal is not to punish students. Our goal is to redirect behavior. We want to redirect the behavior of students because we want them to be great students in our class. So we need a healthy system in place. And what I mean by that is the system should not be punishing the students or you. And you might be thinking, what do you mean punishing me? Well, if you punish a student by giving them detention during lunch or after school, guess what? Oh, there's a 22-second delay between Zoom and Facebook. That is why it takes time for me to receive the messages. Got it. Awesome. Thank you, Ree. See, I knew I could count on you for that. I will learn that. I will learn to pace a little bit better so I know how to handle that in the future. So your system for redirecting behavior, if you are punishing a student by giving them detention, and that means that you have to stay after school for detention, or you have to give up your lunch period for detention, you're punishing yourself and the student. And guess what happens? You get angry when you have to give up your own time. So first you get angry, and second, you stop doing it because you don't want to give the punishment. So that's not healthy. You want to create a system that helps the students to do better. We're always assuming the best in our students. Even when students are displaying behavior that is impacting the class and impacting their own learning, we need to assume the best. Maybe they're interacting that way because they're having an issue at home, they're having an issue in another class, they're insecure in our class. Whatever the reason is, our goal is to help them to be better. So create a system that helps them. I have a system in my book. I teach the system in depth in the mentorship so you can get a clear direction in the book. I have a one-page sheet that solves this behavior. And keep your system clear and simple. That's why I use a one-pager. And the one page is editable to all of my mentees, and it's editable in the book where you just have to take the thing in the book and just make a copy for yourself and rewrite it. But the goal is to keep it clear and simple. It should not be this elaborate thing, just very clear the first time, the second time, the third time. What are you going to do? And it should not be about hurting the student. It should be about supporting the student. And frankly, getting the parents on your side. not getting them in an adversarial relationship? How do you get the parents to support you? So create this system now in the summertime. Now we get to number 10. You need to write a handbook or edit your handbook. Now, your handbook, many of you probably already have a handbook. If you have a handbook, just give me a Y. And so I'll see it in about 22 seconds from now, and I'll keep going. But if you have a handbook, click a Y. And so most people in their handbook, they have concert dates, they have grading, they have the nuts and bolts of the class, but they're really missing the nuance. What really matters in the handbook. Now, don't get me wrong, the concert dates and the grading policies are important, but your mission statement is important. Awesome, you guys have it. Your mission statement is important. Your supporting paragraph is important because you want the parents and the students to know what your goals are. Because if you've created clarity in your classroom, the reason why you do things will be clear. And when you're explaining it to the parents, they will understand why. So your mission statement that you spent the time over the summer cultivating, and your supporting paragraph that you spent time cultivating, is now written and it's clear for your students and your parents. Even your ideal rehearsal, because that gets into what are the expectations of the students. So you write down your ideal rehearsal, and now when you set your expectations of what they should be doing in the class, you could write them out underneath. So the expectations are you come in and walk directly to your seat. When the bell rings, I'm going to play the opening chord and you're going to stand up. Whatever it is, you've created that ideal rehearsal for your students. Your guidelines and your procedures of note are in your handbook. So your guidelines are going to be in the handbook, no matter what. You list them nice and clear. Not all procedures need to be in there. The parents don't need to know what they need to do if they're sharpening a pencil. But the procedures that are most important, like if you're going to come late, this is what you need to do, or if you miss an assignment or whatever it might be, there are procedures that maybe the parents and students should clearly know. So they should be in the handbook along with your plan for redirecting behavior, because it gives you an opportunity to explain to the parents and to the students why you've created this plan to help them to behave in a way that's going to get them to be successful in your class, so they could be the best students they could be, and so we could have the most productive class possible. So you explain that behavioral redirection plan, an explanation, and then what you're going to do in order to engage them. And when you put it in writing, you're thinking, as a parent, is this something that they would align with? Would they feel connected to the way I'm redirecting their child? And that's how you get them on the same page. Does that make sense, everybody? Give me Y's if that's making sense. All this preparation. Because before we get to the last one, it's so interesting because most people spend the whole summer just looking up music, finding more music. And we've gone through 10 things so far, and I haven't even talked about choosing music. Because my belief is if you set up your program for success, they'll buy into whatever music you give them. If you're passionate about madrigals, they're going to love madrigals. If you're passionate about vocal jazz, a cappella, show choir, classical music, contemporary music, gospel music, whatever you're passionate about, they will be passionate about if they've bought in. They're only going to buy in when you've created a program that's set up for success. And the summertime gives you this opportunity to prepare in a way that you can't prepare once the school year has already begun. I also wanted to mention one more thing. I'm glad that Well, maybe did I put? Oh, I still didn't put it there. So one more thing here. When you write your handbook, I highly recommend that you do it on a Google Doc, because then your parents, your students could see it, and you could make adjustments throughout the year. Maybe a guideline is no longer necessary and a new guideline is important. Maybe you switched rooms. Maybe something new came up. Your school banned cell phones, so cell phones were not an issue. And all of a sudden, they started to allow cell phones, and you needed to address cell phones. So if you need to modify a guideline, add a new procedure, change a procedure, you can put it into a Google Doc and make those changes throughout the year, along with changes to concert dates and anything else. So I would keep that handbook live so you could always make changes. Yeah, Google Doc with a QR code on the signature page. Yeah, love it. Awesome. Anything you can do to keep it live and keep it tangible. I also want to be clear. The handbook is not a lawyer thing. This is not 150 pages. It's like, 6 pages, 7 pages, 5 pages. It's not a lot. It's just enough to clarify everything that you need to clarify. So that brings us to the 11th summer do now. And this is completely overlooked by most people. Yeah, parents can print it if they would like, but I'd still even say, to get the latest information, always check the live document. So here is the final 11, the final one of the 11 summer do nows. Check for positive framing. Positive framing is overlooked all the time. We think that we have to be negative in order to get our point across. Now, to be clear, there are times when I say something negative in the classroom. I am not perfect. However, being positive, you could be just as clear as being negative. So, if you want students to not call out, no talking, no calling out, you can instead say, raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged before you speak. Instead of no touching, no hitting, please keep hands and feet to yourself. Everything that you write, every line in the handbook should be positively framed. If you can't figure out how, ask somebody else. Frankly, you can probably go on ChatGPT and say, can you turn this into a positively framed guideline? Could you turn this paragraph into a positively framed guideline? Could you eliminate all no's and don'ts? And it probably can do that, I'm guessing. Find a way to be positive. When you do this exercise in your handbook, when you make sure every posting, every letter you send out, the guidelines, the procedures, your posters, your handbook, guess what happens? When you speak, you start speaking that way too. And when you're positive with people, you give off positive energy and you get positive results from your students. What you write can always be framed positively. If anybody wants to challenge me, write out something that you can't turn around. See how I said write out something that you can't turn around? We can turn that around very easily. Everything can be turned around. I challenge you to show me that there's anything out there. So that's the 11th one. So we've gone through a whole series of 11 things you could do now that are going to be productive, starting with making sure that you've distanced yourself. You have a clear mission statement. You're supporting your mission statement. You've got a vision of how your rehearsal should run. You've got guidelines that support, you have a list of your disruptions and distractions that potentially get in the way of your ideal rehearsal. And then you have guidelines that address those disruptions and distractions. You have procedures that will keep the flow going. And then you've got your handbook that creates clarity. Oh, you also have a behavioral management system. You have a handbook that shows parents and students everything that's expected in the class with clarity because you are clear, and now you are positive in the way you frame things. So those are the 11 things. So no's and don'ts can always be turned around. So let me ask you a question. Did this workshop bring you value? If it did, give me a why. And obviously I'll see it in about 20 seconds. I'm going to hope it did. And was the information useful? And do you feel like you have a clear plan for this summer? One where you're not just going, what can I do? What am I thinking about? That you can really think about exactly what you would like to do to build up your program. Awesome. I love seeing those whys. So you could take this information and get started right away. But what if I could help you at a higher level? And I have 2 people here that I'm already helping at a higher level who are still coming on to this call to learn more. Okay. What if I could guide you throughout the entire year? That is why I created that mission, why I created the mentorship, okay, where I could become your accountability partner and ensure that your program is making that progress while you have that work-life balance and you enjoy your job. Because when you switch that mindset, when you have somebody that helps you every step of the way, you can really see the joy and you can see the progress. So I've given you the roadmap so far, and I'm going to give you the book in a minute too, that you could download. And you have the information. It's all there. The difference between that and the mentorship is I am there to personally guide you every step of the way. And we do that with calls weekly and content and the community. So I'm just going to play you very quick clips of 4 people in the program who are going to just tell you about the program. And we have 2 people on the call as well. So how is the mentorship different than your college experience? Because you just came out of college, you started your job, and now you joined the mentorship. What makes this different?
The difference in what the mentorship is that in college, it didn't really seem like there was a whole lot of like being able to talk about what in-classroom experiences are, because here in the mentorship, you get to hear a whole lot of different perspectives from people in the mentorship calls and hear what different challenges people face. Where in college, the most you can do in say if you're sitting in a pedagogy class is think about things. Because
that's Joey. Joey came to me when he had already resigned from his job. And he wanted to salvage the rest of the year. And I said, I'm going to help you turn around your program this year. So can you talk a little bit about the experience, the Choral Clarity Mentorship experience? What's the process like for you?
So the best part about the mentorship program, like I touched upon the discussion that happened twice a week, is a great way to talk to others, learn from others, get questions answered, and get feedback from you. Because, yes, we have, as a cohort, we have a lot of information we can give one another. And then I love the fact that the content are short enough that they're not, I have to sit down for an hour. They're short enough, very focused, broad in topics. So pretty much anything you could think of, you can go back to and say, I'm having an issue with this. Let me go back to this. And working at your own pace is huge.
Okay. So that is Jen from California. She's been teaching 20 years, and she joined the mentorship. Where do you think you would have been if you didn't join the mentorship?
I think I would have quit. I really was looking at, when I was looking at all the mentorship stuff, I was actively job seeking all the time. Anytime I wasn't at school, I was looking for other jobs. And I was not even looking for teaching jobs. I was thinking, I don't want to teach. This is too hard. It hurts too bad.
Wow. So that's Rebecca. Rebecca teaches in Hawaii. And I didn't know this about her until I interviewed her a few weeks back. The whole time I saw her in the program, she was happy and, really getting something out of this. Ree, you could certainly do a testimonial. I'd love to have you do one. And the final one I'm going to show you is Lacey. And so what sort of results would you say that you've gotten out of working with us?
I have more energy at the end of the day. I am able to walk in my room with my 5 guidelines that I have to just work on behavior, and to know we've pre-taught them, we reviewed them every week, so these kids understand exactly what's expected. And you meet with them in whatever setting. If that behavior steps out over just a warning, they understand exactly when you meet with them. Yeah, I know this is what it was. And it's also taking the intensity off myself that I'm the one that's causing the issue, because I know I've prepared them well, and it's put it back in the kids' corner. It's put them to, yep, I know exactly what I did. You've told me, you've taught me, you've reviewed with me, you've warned me, and I still have had trouble with that. And it's just made a more efficient, energizing room, not one that was like, oh my gosh, they did that again. What am I doing wrong? The blame isn't on me. And that, I think, figuring that out is a huge piece for any teacher, that you cannot take that behavior personally, especially if you've done the legwork to lay it out.
Awesome. So here's the link to download the book for free, and also to book a strategy call with me if you'd like to. I do 45-minute strategy calls. There's no obligation. I'm here to help. And everybody that I talk with feels like they are being heard. I'm there to help. I'm there to listen. I'm there to guide, regardless of whether you decide to join the mentorship or not. My goal is to help you, to give you value. And that's why I take the time to book the call. At this point in my career, 25 plus years in, and I'm still teaching, I love what I do. I want to give back. I want to help as many choral directors as I can to find joy in the job and be able to do the job for the rest of their life. Again, 25 years in, I'm not burnt out. I love what I do. My students will tell you that. And I'm excited to teach. Although I'm enjoying the summer, I'm truly excited to teach. I love my job. So if there are any questions, I'm going to be on. I'll stay on for the next 5-6 minutes. Please ask them in here. So they're both there. They look funny on my comments, but they might look okay for you. Sure, Ruben. So if you have any questions, ask me. With Ree, who's here, we met in August and had a great conversation. And Ree was on the fence about joining, but it just wasn't the right time. And we talked about the stresses that I thought she might be facing being a new teacher and her unique circumstances on the call. And she wasn't quite ready to join. And then she ended up joining about 4 months later when those stresses actually came to fruition. And so it took a while to turn that around, but by the end of the year, I think we were in a really positive place, right, Ree? I'll know in 20 seconds or so. And I would love to do a testimonial with you as well. We could set up a time. My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, thank you all. And I hope if you're interested, book a call. I'd love to work with you and get to know you. Thank you all so much. Yeah. So rewrote, definitely agreed. This program has been an amazing learning experience. I ended the year a whole lot better than I started. As a first-year teacher, I feel much more prepared going into the second year. And that's the goal. You can be a seasoned teacher or a first-year teacher. The goal of the mentorship doesn't change. It's to help you to find joy, have a work-life balance, and build your program to the next level. So with that said, I thank you all so much for watching, for giving me your hour. I hope I made it valuable to you, and I truly enjoyed sharing my information with you. So thank you all very much, and I hope you have a great day.